Hey everyone, this is Max. I want to thank you for joining me in another tutorial video. So this is going to be the fourth video in our Mixamo Maya tutorial series. In the last video, we installed the Mixamo auto control rig. What we're going to do is use the XBlock character and went through Mixamo's auto rigger to make the control rig. What I also want to do in this video is go over how the control rig works. So if you don't have an animation background, you kind of understand the difference between FK and IK movement, some of the different custom controls on a rig, so that way for posing or animating, you'll be able to work with them. So I've had questions in the past about this in videos, and I guess just coming from the idea that everyone had the understanding of how these worked from an animation perspective, so I just want to cover this. So this will be a pretty simple video today. If you do have an animation background, you'll probably be able to skip pretty much this entire video and skip to the next part where we'll go over bringing animations to the characters and looping them. And working with that type of aspect. Right, so what I'm going to do first is open the Mixamo control rig, and what I want to point out is before we get started, make sure you're in a clean scene. When you use this rig character button, it'll take everything in your scene and put it in the rig, so I don't want you losing work or having any issues. So just make sure you're in a clean scene with just the character imported. I'm also going to do the add pelvis hula. Well, it's just an extra control to add onto the rig, and then I'm going to hit rig character. So it'll take a few moments and we'll see the control rig populate. Cool, alright, so from here we have the character. I do recommend saving this out as its own Maya file. It's always good to have a clean rig to revert back to if you ever run into an issue. Sometimes they break or get messed up, so that's always useful. And it's also great for bringing in multiple characters, applying different sets of animations and stuff, so it's good to have a clean rig to revert to. Alright, so we'll close out of that, and what we'll do is we'll just save this file. Show you where I'm saving mine. Alright, so I'm going to be saving mine in the 4 folder of the assets folder, so it'll be 04 Mixamo control rig and 4 video of the tutorial. And I'll just be saving this here. So I already have this saved out. If you're following along with the project files, it'll be saved here. Right, and if you don't have your own, you can save it wherever you feel comfortable saving your files. Alright, so from here I just want to go over the control rig now. So what we're going to do is first discuss the different types of skeletons that are set up for animating. Right, so you can see that there's little black triangles by the feet and legs. So this is going to be pretty much on any limb. You'll have some type of version of this set up. It could look different depending on the character and how people set them up. When we click on this and go to the channel box, you'll see there's a bunch of different custom attributes, and one of the ones we're going to focus on right now is FKIK. So this is really nice because it's going to allow you to switch between the different types of skeleton setup. So I just want to have both of them here so you can kind of visualize the difference between the two. So FK stands for forward kinematic, and IK stands for inverse kinematic, and it's a way of which the bones and skeleton are going to function. So on a forward kinematic rig, it's going to be used for really big sweeping motions. So if you think of someone raising their arms up and stretching, that's going to be an FK motion. So for animating this, what we do, and I'm not going to animate this properly according to the skeleton, just to make it simple. You're going to start at the shoulder, work your way to the elbow, and then to the wrist. Obviously this would break someone because this is not the way it would work. This is the idea that you would do. You start at the base and work down. For inverse kinematic, you actually start at the end, replacing the arm, because the IK kind of works as being pivoted to the shoulder and then goes to the wrist and kind of bends in the center, and the elbow is controlled by this this locator that's been set to be a control. So you would move the arm to wherever you want that to be positioned. And then you would place the elbow to wherever you want to be pointing. So this type of motion is going to be a lot better for kind of subtle, quicker motions, things that require a lot of adjustment. I think a lot of people tend to gravitate towards IK because of how it works, but there are times where FK motions are going to be more ideal. Now, one thing that this rig doesn't have is an FK-IK switch. You'll see this probably more on production rigs or rigs that are taking a lot of use are being used in a lot of different scenes because it's really beneficial towards animation. I'll kind of point this out real quick, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. So if you see here how if I switch between FK and IK, it's going to snap to 2 different points because the FK and IK aren't joined together. And there are ways of setting this up to make it where you have like 3 different skeletons, you know, a base, an FK, and an IK, and you can have them be constrained to one another so they could actually hold that position. This can be really nice when working with different types of motion that switch between FK and IK. You know, you might start in one form of motion and then need to switch over. And how that would work is like here's a custom script that I learned using the Maya Learning Channel tutorial that is free. If you have questions, I can link to that. It is a longer series, but pretty much what this does is it allows you to tell the FK to match the IK or the IK to match the FK, and it can be really nice when working through more complex animations. But that is something that does not have. But it's somewhat of a more advanced feature, or a feature on the rig that's going to be used a lot. But there's still a lot of great features on this rig. Another one we can look at is the hands. So you can see that there's individual controls on the hands here that can be, you know, rotated and moved for bending the fingers. Now this would be really time consuming to do this constantly for fingers, and generally not needed because a lot of times fingers are going to be moving together for the most part unless you're doing something really specific. So most relaxed poses will generally have, you know, all the fingers curled to a degree. So what's really nice is they're going to be built-in custom curling animations. So what we could do here is if you just select them all, or you could hold shift, you could select them using control, whatever you're comfortable with. If you drag and select all of these, and what I'm going to use the middle mouse button, and when you hold that down, you'll see these arrows. That'll tell you the direction you're dragging in. So we can see the thumb actually isn't moving in the same direction as all the other fingers, and it's going to be the same for pretty much all Mixamo rigs. So what I'd say is you only really want to grab the fingers, animate those, and then control the thumb separately, since it works in the opposite direction and generally require less movement than the other fingers. So it's a great way for making curls and other things, and you can kind of adjust this to even make a fist or other types of movement. So this can be a really nice way for quickly adjusting stuff versus a very specific aspect of doing the FK controls for the fingers. Another option that we're seeing here is the sway, you know, back and forth movement for the fingers, and then a finger spread. So again, some really nice custom attributes we could use here. A couple other ones I want to go over. There are some on the head, but right now without any facial animation, we really don't have to worry about any of those. And then the biggest ones are going to be actually the feet. So again, I'll switch these over FKIK so you can see the difference between the two. So you can see the FK have these individual controls on the hips, which are actually kind of nice, so that way they're not in the way. And you can do all your individual motions. Right, and then what we have here, we have a lot of custom controls here that are really nice. Before we jump into those, because they're going to be really similar to the fingers, I just want to point out a couple of these that can be pretty interesting. Follow body can be nice. So if we were to switch both of these to IK, you can see the difference. So normally when you move the root control in IK, when the limbs are in IK, they're going to want to stay in their position. And that can be annoying depending on what you're trying to do. So if you actually have this switch to follow body, what will happen, and you'd want to probably do this for both the knee and the elbow, or knee and foot. Now it'll make it where that IK is actually going to follow that body versus kind of having this like stringing, like trying to stick in position effect, where it's going to hold its position to the best of its ability. So again, this can be really nice if you're trying to achieve certain things with animation. Right, so the other thing we'll go over is just the custom animation options that are on the feet. So a foot roll is a really useful one when you're doing any type of walk cycle, so they're used all the time. Other ones that can also be used, you know, toe tapping, side to side, rotating, hip pivot, pivot, toe pivot, hip side to side, and front back. Alright, so yeah, so these are all the custom things you could use when animating. Again, I just know some people in the past that don't have an animation background didn't know about these and asked about them in videos, so I just want to make sure that anyone watching this can know that these exist, and hopefully it'll help them out when going through any of the animating or posing process, depending on how you're using this. Alright, well, if this was helpful, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow along for future videos. In the next video, what we're going to be going over is how to bring in Mixamo animations and apply them to the character. And we'll start working with creating loops, working blending, so we'll start really getting to the animation side of bringing these into Mixamo, from Mixamo into Maya. Alright, well, I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to get to those, and if you have any input for other videos, let me know and I'll see what I can do about those in the future. Alright, I hope everyone's having a great day, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you subscribe for future content and follow me on the social platforms linked below.